I really feel like I'm the man in this. That's hands down. That's got a bad bitch on the passenger, rubbing on the thighs. Look me in my eyes. Won't hurt you. Yo. Yo, what's good? We back at it. It's your boy said that the scales will prevail. Y'all can see me? Yeah, it's your boy said that the scales will prevail. We back at it with another video. We had to do the lovely Scorpio Ascendant. You know what I mean? This is the Ascendant signs and balancing out your polarity series. You know, we continue with the 8th sign known as the Scorpio. So we're gonna continue. Follow along. You know what I mean? We got the info, so you know. You know, it's very common that people use Placidus house systems in Western modern astrology. In this video, though, we're going to be using whole sign houses. So each sign will be assigned to one house, basically. There will be no interceptions, no duplicated signs, but things like that, right? The reason being is because I want to be able to reach more people. So this video should still resonate with you, you know what I mean? Even if you're accustomed to using other systems. But I just wanted to throw that out there as we, you know, get things going and stuff, right? So, let's start off with the Scorpio Ascendant. I want to make sure y'all can see me. Scorpio Ascendant, right? Everything is following through in zodiacal order. We got Scorpio, 1st house, Sagittarius 2nd, Capricorn in the 3rd house, Aquarius on the 4th, Pisces on the 5th. We got Aries on the 6th. We got Taurus on the 7th. The 8th house is Gemini. Cancer is the 9th. Leo is the 10th. Virgo is the 11th. Libra is the 12th sign, aka house, right? Libra is the 12th whole sign house. Alright, so we're gonna go through, we're gonna balance things out and talk about the opposite areas of life and, you know, just the energy that's present in these houses, basically, right? So let's start with the Scorpio Ascendant in terms of who you guys are, how you act. This is the house of physical appearance. It's the house, I like to say, how you act. Some astrologers will say it's your personality. That can be cool too, you know, but I usually say act. It's your outlook on life, how others perceive you as well too, right? So Scorpio, let's start off with Scorpio. Scorpio is the sign of sex, death, and transformation, basically. It's the sign of secrets, right? When we think of Scorpio, it's ruled by Mars and co-ruled by Pluto. Mars, I always say, is the god of war, and Pluto represents the god of the underworld. It's the furthest planet from the sun, so it represents the element of darkness, right? So, if we bring an element of darkness to your 1st house in terms of how you appear, how you come off, right? This is more in alignment with a mystery, because Scorpio is the sign of mystery. You could say darkness, privacy, things of this nature. So you will come off as more of a mystery. You may come off as kind of like a bit secretive at times too. You may feel like you have to protect yourself as well too, because Scorpio is a very protective sign. The reason that can be is because when we think of Scorpio, Scorpio is a very sexual energy. It's a very powerful allure that has a very powerful magnetism. So being that it's the sign of sex, you guys can exude a sexual energy to the point where you may feel like you have to protect yourself at times, especially if you're a woman too, you know. One thing I also want to say is, though, Scorpio is a sign of transformation. So you guys are going through constant transformation within this lifetime, right? Constantly changing, constantly going through death and rebirth, basically, evolving, evolution. All these things are synonymous with the Scorpio energy, right? So being that this is kind of your energy, when we look at the 7th house, we have Taurus here, which is your opposite sign. And then the 7th house, it represents your relationships. 1st house is you, 7th house is your relationships. So being that you're constantly changing, evolving, right, going through a death and rebirth, you have to make sure that you're, you know, being a Taurus in your 7th house. And what does Taurus represent? It represents stability. It represents comfort. It represents being solid, right, stable. So you got to make sure that you're stabilizing your relationships, because, again, you're coming off as the transformer, person who's evolving, basically. Now, if you're too comfortable in your relationships, because Taurus is a comfortable energy or sign, if you're too comfortable in this area of life, right, you might have a lot of energy, or a multitude of planets here that can make you more in this energy over here. So if you're too comfortable in your relationships and you know, solidifying this area, then it's saying that you need to get back to evolving yourself and transforming yourself, going through self-transformation basically with Scorpio in the first house. That's how you balance out the energy, right? Let's go to Sagittarius in your second house versus Gemini in the 8th house. This is your possessions, your assets, your money, your finances. It's also what you value. You have Sagittarius here. So, you actually would value expansion and growth. You actually want to grow your money basically. You got Sagittarius on the second house. You want to expand in your value basically, and that can look like different things for different people. You can also make money, or excuse me, you value, and also you can make money off of maybe teaching or learning with Sagittarius in the second house. Also, you may value traveling, you know. So, you know, some people with this placement will have jobs to where they're like flight attendants, to where they're constantly traveling, and also they're making money from it. Just as an example, it doesn't have to be that way too, but it could be that, or teaching. This is an example. It's a lot of different things that fall into these signs, but I'm just giving you a brief synopsis, right? You got Gemini in the 8th house. Gemini represents communication, so you got to make sure that you're communicating with those that you're intimate with, right? Make sure you're communicating with those that you're intimate with. Let's see. It can show too with Gemini in the 8th house that you know, you could like to express yourself and talk, even in sex and intimacy. You know, you like to communicate in this area with the people that you're intimate with. That could be sexual partners, or it could be non-sexual. It just means intimacy, people that you're close with. Gemini too can show for it's not the deepest sign in terms of intimacy. So it can show for a fickle energy. It represents change, so there could be some change that goes on with people that you're intimate with. But you're drawn to people who are intellectual, witty, you know what I mean, jack of all trades, which is all Gemini energy. Being that you could be the type that wants to expand your possessions, your value, your money situation, again, just make sure you're balancing out, again, communicating with your intimate close ones, all right? And if you're doing this too much, then this is about getting back to expanding in your value, your learning, you know, your wisdom, things of that nature. Now, we got Capricorn in the 3rd versus Cancer in the 9th house. Let's start with Capricorn in the 3rd house. This is your thinking, this is your communications, right? This also represents your neighborhood. It represents your siblings, in particular your younger siblings. This will actually be your first younger sibling, but it can represent the general theme of siblings as well too. Aunts, uncles, cousins, your neighbors can all be seen from the 3rd house. So you got Capricorn here. You're the type that's a bit more cautious in terms of how you communicate. You may have also felt like there's some restrictions that you have with expressing yourself. You know, and sometimes it can just show up as like learning disabilities or speech impediments. So it's like you have to work on communication because, you know, Capricorn is a sign of work. It restricts things. It's ruled by Saturn. Saturn represents delays, restrictions. So it's just showing that you have to, you know, work in this area basically. Being that you have to work on your communication, you need to be kind of like nurturing. You need to nurture and kind of you got Cancer on the 9th, so it's about nurturing and kind of being a mother towards your beliefs basically, because you may feel again more cautious and restricted in how you express yourself. So you know, you want to just nurture again the things that you believe in. Also, your best learning style with Capricorn in the 3rd house is through repetition, but it can show you, step by step in repetition, but it can show forth for you being the type of individual who is, I would say, like, you know, you have an authoritative type of mind. You think about your career status, reputation, things of that nature. With Cancer on the 9th house, this could show you being someone who is sensitive in the things that you believe in. It can also show family having some influence on the things that you believe in. So that's just some way that the energy can show up. I have seen also some people that with Cancer on the 9th house, their family could be foreigners basically. Or it can show like the philosophies coming from you know, overseas as well too. Home as well may also feel like, you may feel more like home, like when you're traveling, when you're going on international travels as well too. And again, you know, Capricorn in the third, when we jump back here, you have to be responsible in this area, you know, because you're a bit more restricted. So this is also coming into the house that represents, I told you, siblings, relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins. So you got to be kind of responsible. And the mature one here, basically Capricorn is the mature and authoritative energy. And just balance that out again with your spirituality. Ninth house is also spirituality. It's your beliefs. As this can help you be centered in these areas with being responsible for these people. And like I said, to work on how you express yourself. Aquarius on the 4th house versus Leo in the 10th house. You got Aquarius on the 4th, so 4th house represents family, home, represents your mother, your feelings. There's a certain level of aloofness that you would have had or you would have felt with your mother. A certain level of detachment, you know, so a lot of times, you know, you could have felt like the rebel as well too. It was a bit of a detachment in terms of you getting that fulfillment from the mother, as she could have been aloof. You're also a very progressive type of individual when you have Aquarius on the 4th when it comes to family matters and in your upbringing, right? So this is why you could be rebellious at times too in your upbringing. So this is why opposite of that, in your 10th house, this is why you want to be seen in the world, because you were a rebel and you didn't fit in. You felt a bit different when it comes to family. You got Leo in the 10th. Leo's about shining and being seen, being the center of attention, right? In the world, your career, and things of that nature, and your public image. Because again, your upbringing. What do I want to say? You're also supposed to, if you're overly wanting to be seen in the world because of how you grew up, and for your career shining in this area, then you need to get back to progressing. Because Aquarius represents progressing, so you need to progress in the areas that represent the 4th house. Also, Aquarius is a sign that represents the humanitarian. So you're kind of like the humanitarian of your family. That's why you feel a bit different and unique. You know, so, and that's why you're supposed to progress your family. Let's go to Pisces on the 5th versus Virgo on the 11th. What I want to say. 5th house is self-expression. It can also represent fun and pleasure and children. So I would say you're the type that can be, you could sacrifice kind of your sense of identity and your kind of who you are, how you self-express. Because Pisces is a very sacrificial type of energy, so you can sacrifice a lot in this area and maybe not show fully who you are, basically. Let me see if I'm saying that correctly. Yeah, just maybe some stuff to where you kind of like sacrifice your sense of identity. Also, you could be very giving, or you can sacrifice a lot when it comes to your fun and pleasure, basically. You kind of sacrifice this area. So this is why opposite that in the 11th house, you got Virgo here. This is showing that you want to perfect your goals and your aspirations. It could be just some goals around work, you know what I mean, that you would have when you have this, even like health. Virgo's a sign of health as well. Let's see. Virgo on the 11th can show that you're kind of critical with your friends, or you either attract people who are kind of critical as friends, and they could be kind of like judgmental, picky, things of that nature as well too. So, you know, even if you're coming off this way, this could be why you're attracting that, right? So this is why that, you know, if you're doing that overly too much, then you got to get back to Pisces on the 5th, which is kind of like sacrificing kind of that energy, basically, in terms of how you would come off, basically, and how you self-express to balance that energy out. Your goals and aspirations can deal with work, because Virgo is a sign of work and service as well. So if you're trying to perfect this area and have a lot of energy as well in this area, then this is saying that you need to give towards fun and pleasure, which is the 5th house as well. That's another way to look at it in terms of balancing this area out. And if you're giving too much to this area of fun and pleasure, get back to your self-improving and your work and your goals, your hopes and wishes. 11th house. All right, let's get to Aries on the 6th versus Libra on the 12th. When you have Aries on the 6th, you move a bit more independent in your work, in your daily routines. It could be even amongst co-workers or employees, and this could be because of what you attract in this area. Aries is a very independent energy. It's kind of a bit selfish at times, so you have to learn to be more independent because this is the energy you attract here. Sometimes it can show forth for conflicts and quarrels, but you got to look at how your Mars is aspected. If it's aspected poorly, meaning more red lines are coming to it in terms of aspects to your Mars planet, then it's going to show up as you having conflicts and quarrels or just, again, selfishness. If it's aspected pretty well, then that could be a good thing, or if it's in a good sign that it's comfortable with in terms of home and domicile, you know, it could just show for you just being that leader. But a lot of times you got to be independent, or you're going to have to learn to be in this area in terms of what you attract. Also, Aries is a warrior type of energy, so if you're attracting that from co-workers, if it feels like it's competition, then it's just saying that opposite that in your 12th house, this is you kind of like private and behind the scenes and what you do. You need to make sure you're having peace, you're in balance and having equilibrium, which is all Libra. Kind of like behind the scenes or distant, which is 12th house, because what you attract with those you work with and in your work. Like, now, if you're too caught up in having peace and harmony, you know, and balance behind the scenes, then get back to Aries, kind of being like the head of your work, basically. And also taking action in this area, you know what I mean? So that's just how we look at the energies. Hope this was pretty insightful for you guys. We have Scorpio Ascendant again. And yeah, that's pretty much what I want to say, you know. I hope this video was insightful. And you know what I mean? Stay tuned. We got more videos coming soon.